Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Dice Tower live Q&A with me, Tom Vasel. And we're halfway through February, the coldest and gloomiest month of the year, a month where they have a holiday where a groundhog comes out to look at its shadow, just to tell you there's more winter on its way. But I guess that means it's downhill from there. When I was a kid, February was always like, when is school going to be over? Because the first half of school, you're excited. You get to go there, new things. Christmas is coming. You know, once Christmas is over, though, it's like, what do I have to look forward to? But anyway, I'm glad to see all of you who are here today. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments. I don't and won't answer every question I get, but I do and will answer many of them. Just for fun, come along with us. So here we go. Oh, do we have any questions here? Have ever gotten to a miniature game that doesn't have hero in the title? Yeah, fantasy battles. Also, I played Warhammer. I was very much into 40K for a long time. Miniature sets just... I don't know that I want to read a rule book this thick and go through all that for a miniature game. Also, there's other things about miniature games that no longer appeal to me, like measuring distance and things like that, line of sight. I'd rather just kind of have it all on a board for me if possible. All right, whoa. Let's see. What do you do with the Basin Components after you get the upstairs pieces or upgrade pieces? Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because that is something that I think about all the time. So when I upgrade components to a game, I take the bad ones out, or the normal ones out. So many times I put them in a drawer in a bag labeled with the game name that we have, because you never know. For some reason we might need them or something or other. Highly doubtful, but it's possible. But then, after a while, it's like, okay, we're never going to use them, so then I get rid of them somehow, some way. Cubes, I stick in my cube drawers to use in other games. Cardboard tokens are likely going to get chucked at some point in time, but I leave a good amount of space. I don't know, I'm just a little paranoid that you'll get rid of something that you'll then need later on. That's a good question, though. Who came up with the idea for Shoots and Marbles show? Well, it was me, but I don't know how I'm trying to think how it came into being. There was something, I must have been on Etsy and saw a marble ramp, and I thought that would be fun for my kids. And I've always done marble ramps for fun. I used to use Hot Wheel tracks and different things for Halloween, not in 2020, but in 2019. I made a big marble ramp for people to come and let the marbles race down it and everything. And at my church, I set up this area and kids would come by and you race a marble. And if your marble won, you got extra candy. I mean, everyone got candy, but the winner got a little bit more candy. Stuff like that. And everybody seemed to have fun doing that. I took big cardboard rolls that came from, I cut up. They have them like that plastic wrap goes around them, things like that. And I put a whole bunch of those on top of tables and things and just had the marbles go from one to the next to the next to the next. And I did a few other things. I was going to buy PVC pipe, but the cardboard things were much easier to do. Anyway, I've always got a kick out of that. I've watched the different marble races on YouTube, and I knew that we couldn't compete with them. They're so very good. And I said, well, let's just do it live. That'd be fun. People can cheer for their actual marble. So that's what we've done. Can we send in marbles? Who names them? Yes, you can send in marbles. Email me at tom@dicetower.com, and I'll tell you how to do that. And the people name them. I think there's a few I've gotten where I've named them for the people, but for the most part, people name them themselves. Will you be reviewing Praga? Yeah. I think maybe next week. I might wait another week on it. Not sure yet. Have you combined different small games into one box? No, I don't. I mean, I think I've done it in the past. I don't prefer doing it. because you just forget the different games are in there. And then you're like, oh, this has 3 games in it. And I don't know, I found that when you do that, you devalue each of the games, and so none of them gets played hardly at all then. What's the best thing you've eaten while at a con? I'm going to assume you don't mean at the actual con itself, because there's not a lot of good that comes at the con. But if you mean while at a convention, probably the St. Elmo's Steakhouse in Indianapolis. It's hard to beat that place. How many versions of Dune have been released? 2, I think. The original Avalon Hill, and then the one that was just released in 19. Now, there might be another one in there that I don't know about. There also might be an unofficial one, and there's definitely probably some foreign versions of the game, and I don't know who released those. This question here is about Frosthaven. I don't know a lot about Frosthaven. I'm going to be learning it with everybody else. I usually pay very little attention to games that have not been released about what they're going to do, because I want the surprise and the fun of them to be there. I do a little bit of research into games, and for crowd surfing, I obviously see stuff, but then I forget all about it. So a game will show up. Like today, I think I got like 5 Kickstarters showed up. And I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, that looked interesting, but I don't remember anything about it. Cool. I get to try it out for the first time. Do you consider the term Eurogame as a design philosophy? No. Do you remember the moment when you first thought, board games, that's what I want to do for a living? There was no moment. It was a very long, long process of transitional period. And I remember I used to dream about it, like, wouldn't it be great if I could do this full time? I remember the first time that really struck me was when I met Rick Thornquist from Board Game News, or was Game Fest at the time, and he was full time, and I thought, full time? You're so lucky. You're so lucky. That's your job, games? And then when I heard that Aldi was going full time at Board Game Geek, I was like, man, well, I'll never get to that point. Yeah, that was kind of the thing. As time went by, I would look at different income sources, and I'd say, maybe if this was times 30, I could do it, And it just worked out. I'm very blessed. But there was no moment. How do you feel about people who name their pets after their favorite board games? I didn't know people did that, but I guess having a Blood Rage dog would be pretty funny. When is Ketchup Palooza? First one's going up this week, actually. Nobody tell Tom we know he's on the moon. Let's see what else we have here. Have you heard of any expansions for Dune Imperium coming out? I have not. How far into Sleeping Gods are you? That game ate up my entire weekend. Well, me and my daughters are playing through a campaign of it, and we are through the deck twice. You go through this deck of cards 3 times to play through the game, and we've gone through it twice. So we're 2/3 of the way through the game. But yeah, we spent a good chunk of the weekend playing that. It's to say 3 hours yesterday, maybe, and then 4 hours the last time. We're excited to pull it out again, but it might have to wait till this coming weekend to finish it. Hey, Tom, did you read the Red Rising books? You didn't watch Board Game Breakfast. What do you miss most about conventions, if at all? I definitely miss conventions. It's actually seeing people face to face. I don't care. Zoom, all this other stuff doesn't cut it for me. I want to see people face to face. And that's what I miss. I miss seeing people and just hanging out. I also miss the buzz. I don't know how to explain it, but walking through a convention center, there's just buzz and cool things to see. I just like that. Any chance there will be more mechs for Critical Mass in the future? I know that there was planned to be more mechs for it, but I don't believe the game did well enough to warrant more. so I'm not sure. Let's see here. What is one thing about cons that you don't want to return when conventions come back? All right, it's a good question. I'm going to say I would like us to not get around the idea that every game has to be released at Gen Con or Essen. There's some good, I understand why, but to have every game released at, I mean, Essen in particular has hundreds of new games there, and it's like you just get hit, boom. Now new games are coming out all the time, and here's how I know this, because every year I watch carefully about the games I review, and you'll see there's an excitement every year, and that excitement dies every year mid-February. Mid-February, March, April, it gets real hairy. There ain't a lot of good games to play and review, but because games are just coming when they're coming, no one's caring about that anymore. I just got some very hot games came in the mail, hot games, I suppose, and it's February because we're not following that convention schedule for releasing games, and having games come out throughout the year rather than focused on these 2 points is just good, I think, for everybody. It's good for the games too. Thank you for liking the Dice Tower History series. Do I have plans to do more? Maybe in the future. I don't feel like doing I like talking about this stuff in the past because it's easier for me to focus on in the past. Past history is a little easier to talk about in retrospect. So maybe in like 10 years. Hey, Tom, last week you said Sleeping Gods was getting a Foursquare's review last week. Maybe you misunderstood me. I didn't say it was happening last week. It's happening, a Foursquare's review, but I want to finish the whole game before we review it. Are colors being overused on player components? Oh, yeah. Red, yellow, blue, green. Easy. Those are always used in games, which is fine. I mean, I don't really necessarily have anything against those colors, and some people like being those colors, but I just think they're overused. Have I heard much about the Anno 1800 game? Someone I know, I was talking to last night on the phone, said that they really enjoyed it, but I have not gotten it yet, so I don't know much more about it than that. Is Carcassonne a worker placement game? No. Does anyone call it that? Are there any games that you think have too many expansions? Lots of Kickstarters. One of the things I think a game can have too many expansions is when the game just comes out and has like 6 or 7 expansions and you're like, oh, I haven't even played the game yet. I don't know, but I don't really care that much either. Emily B, Super Chat! Which is better, Shot and Totten or Lost Cities? Oh, that's a tough call. Any given Sunday I can go one way or the other, but I'll say Shot and Totten. But I have played Lost Cities more with my wife. Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, thank you for the nice thoughts on my tie. This is my animal tie. Tie's not very straight today. Have you ever been frustrated that certain games have so much potential for expansion, but the publishers just don't make them? Is there a way to get around this? Mechs vs. Minions, Hardfight, etc. Very rarely. The only time I'm frustrated by it was, for example, Magic the Gathering board game. A game that needed expansions or didn't work. Another game was Battleship Galaxies. It's a game that has a really cool base game where you can build factions on each side, but then there's no expansions, and there's no room for building, which is a good chunk of the game. Deck building or things is not there. Then I'm frustrated. Other than that, no. Horrified, would it be nice to be expansion? Sure. But if there's not, you still got to play it a ton. It's still a great game. Mechs vs. Minions doesn't need expansions. If there was one, I'm sure that'd be cool. But the game itself is really good. There's a lot of replayability out of the box. That sort of thing doesn't frustrate me. You'd have to play a game to death, I think, to be annoyed that there's no expansions. And if there is, just get another game, I guess. Did you and your wife have a nice Valentine's Day? We did. We keep Valentine's Day real on the down low in a sense because everyone else celebrates Valentine's Day pretty strongly. So we just celebrate it a different day. And it's cheaper that way. But she did give me a nice card. Do you still try to package small games, card games, in those plastic photo boxes? Yes, I do. Do those boxes hurt a game's chance of being played in the library? No, they actually increase it. And I'll tell you why. Because if those games stayed in the little boxes, you have this shelf of little boxes. It's just a big mess. But when we have them in those plastic ones, first of all, they're in alphabetical order. Secondly, people go by and look at them. We put them in a front and center spot. People are looking at, oh, that looks interesting, and you pull it out. They're still not going to get played a ton. Right? They just don't. Small games don't get played a ton. But that uniformity helps them get played more. How comes Dice Tower never mentions when game reviews are paid promotion? Well, because none of we have never done a review that's a paid promotion. We have definitely done previews that were paid promotions, and that mentions it. And when we do paid playthroughs of games that are paid promotions, that's certainly mentioned. But for a review, we've never been paid to do a review ever in the history of the Dice Tower. So there's that. Do you prefer Wildlands or Helter Skelter? Well, Wildlands is the only one I played. I never did play Helter Skelter. I heard it's essentially the exact same game Mike was telling me about. We were talking about this the other day. I would probably like to play Helter Skelter. That's the Judge Dredd version, by the way. But yeah, Wildlands is one I played with the expansions. So we're actually playing that one live tomorrow. What's your best memory of your time in Malaysia? Just to clarify, I was not in Malaysia other than just to visit and have a good time. So my entire trips were great when I went to Malaysia, but I only went there as a vacation. Has anyone ever tried to buy the Dice Tower? No. I once had someone offer to purchase. They were thinking about purchasing the Dice Tower, and they mentioned it real casually. It was never anything serious. And then I had somebody wanted to invest in the Dice Tower, and they wanted a percentage of the Dice Tower. And they, in my opinion, at that moment, severely undervalued the Dice Tower. But the good thing that came out of that was it made me push the Dice Tower even more for constant growth. Tom, I'm a fellow notebook nerd. What do you like in your notebooks? Lines, blanks, dots, or graph? Well, I like graph a lot. It's harder to read for some people, but for some reason, graph is my favorite. But I don't use them as often. But lines. I don't like unlined paper. It drives me nuts. I like to write my lists on lines if possible. Dots I don't care about. Blank is just too open. I need my stuff on nice, neat lines. What is Ketchup Palooza? Ketchup Palooza is games that we talked about, especially in the top 100, that somebody really liked, and someone said, I never played that. So we're going to catch those people up. And that's essentially what it is. We're just going to talk about games that have already been reviewed in the Dice Tower, but some of us haven't played them and have now played them for the first time. How do you comment on Asmodee buying Board Game Arena? Is the industry becoming too monopolized? No. And I always really struggle with this. That's almost misinformation when people say things like that. How could this industry be monopolized? There are literally hundreds and hundreds of board game companies out there. Asmodee owns a lot of games, for sure. They're big. Not as big as Hasbro, but they're big. They own a ton of games. But there are many games that they don't own. Look at the top 10 games that we all said from 2020. How many of them were Asmodee games? Maybe a couple were. I don't know, but most of them were not. And if they buy Board Game Arena, they haven't bought online gaming. They bought one. Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia still exists. You know, you can still play games on your iPad and Android devices. Steam still has things. There's no monopoly. It doesn't even look like a monopoly. Even if you squint and look at it, it doesn't look like a monopoly. There's just no monopoly involved. So I don't care. I'm hoping that Board Game Arena is a really cool thing with Asmodee on board. And if they make it so it's only Asmodee games, if they decide to blow the whole thing up, well, that would not be great, but it still doesn't stop stuff from happening. Look, I'm not always pleased with every decision that's made, and in this case, I'm not trying to lose anything. I don't really care about Asmodee buying Tabletop Arena, and in fact, I'm probably going to go check it out because they did. I hope it does really well for them. But this doom and gloom about every decision in the industry that happens, I really just don't see it. The industry, there's not always going to be things that are great for the industry, but the industry as a whole has weathered these bumps and more. How's Fuzzy? Have you ever brought her to headquarters? I think she came once, but I have not brought her out. I'd be concerned for socks. I think Fuzzy would chase socks. Also, I don't know that I want Fuzzy to run into the woods around here. I don't want her getting ticks. I don't know if even there is ticks in the woods around here. I don't know. I might bring her at some point, let her run around and see what happens. Of the 7,000 games you've reviewed, where's the cutoff for awful, okay, great, and awesome? Awesome is 8.5 and above, or awesome might be my 10s. I don't know. I think you mean good. Awesome is 8.5 and up. Good is 7 to 8. And okay is 6. Bad is 5. And 4 below is awful. That's pretty much my categories. I feel like you have good chemistry with everyone you do videos with. Well, hopefully. Part of that is we want people to do videos with us. We don't do videos because we're forced to do one with videos, but I want to like people. I like people in general. There's definitely a lot of people who don't get along. One only has to go to social media to see that. But I think that the more you do things with actual people, the more you get along in person. Social media, it's really easy to say negative things and nasty things about people. People very rarely will say that to other people's faces. And when you're with someone in person, you can really just have a good time. And I think that's what we try to do on the Dice Tower. It doesn't always succeed. Some people we have more chemistry with than others. But, I was thinking, we've done top 10. I've seen a top 10 list, like worst SNL hosts ever. For Saturday Night Live, like a host who didn't get along with anybody. We couldn't make a list like that here of people, the worst top 10 guests we've ever had. Because it's always been very good. We've had good relationships with the people who come on the show, and I'm glad. Can't wait till Dice Tower West. Well, it's a year away, so. But I mean, I am excited too. Do people really help teach a game, or would I need to sit there and read a rule book? Oh, no. People will teach you a game. I mean, there's always signs for players want it. And if you can't find a player want it, maybe you put up a sign, teacher want it. or go to the hot games area. Someone will end up teaching you. And if nothing else, if everything else fails, come find me and I'll help you. I might be busy teaching another game. You can interrupt me and I'll say, oh, I'll get to you next. I like teaching games. What's the worst experience you had with a designer publisher when you reviewed a game poorly? Well, it's never really that. I mean, some have cut us off from getting future review copies. Some have sent me very long emails. So, I mean, I've got some really like emails that basically said, you owe us a good review or what have you. But that's the worst of it. It's not that big of a deal, and it really rarely happens. Almost every publisher who has emailed me very unhappily about a review, first of all, I can't remember the last time it's happened. But secondly, it was always some really small publisher and it was their only game. That's usually what happens. Have you considered a show where you talk about not board game things that are on your mind at a given moment in time? Are any of your conventions family friendly? All of my conventions are family friendly. I refuse to run one that's not. Now, like if you, I mean, I'm not going to control every single thing, I guess, that happens at a convention, but I mean, for the most part, as far as I can tell, I mean, I do my best to make my conventions family friendly. Families are welcome at our conventions for sure. When is the top 100 worker placement games with Sarah Shaw going to happen? I'd like to clarify that was a joke. That was a joke. I could do my top 100 worker placement games, but that was a joke that we're going to all do that together. Have I been in touch with Sam Ely? I called him and talked to him last night for a while. He's doing good. We just caught up a little bit about things that are happening. So yeah, Sam's doing good. Let me see here. Any chance of your wife appearing in a top 10? Highly unlikely. She doesn't like to be on camera. Or perhaps you could give us her top 5 of all time here. No, I don't think so. If my wife ever wants to be on camera, welcome invitation. But I would not make her do it because she doesn't really like doing it. So why would I want her to do something she doesn't like doing? What percentage of people who buy a game buy an expansion? I can't speak for Kickstarter stuff because that's very different. But for non-Kickstarter games or for a game that's already out to people who get the expansion, it is usually a very small percentage. Some games have higher percentages of people buying expansion, but it is a small percentage. With the resurgence of 18xx games via Kickstarter, is there any chance you or the people at Dice Tower crew give one a try again? No. Just because a game has a resurgence doesn't mean I'm going to start playing it. Now look, this is not me saying these games are bad. They're fine games. I don't like them. I'm not interested in them on a personal level. They're just not my style of games. But just because they're more popular doesn't mean I'm suddenly going to start doing them. Ambi's doing them. Ambi's covering them on the Dice Tower, so we're good. With an adventure tactic expansion coming out, what would you like to see added? Maybe just another storyline to go through, I guess. I mean, we even barely touched all the stuff in it. We played Adventure Tactics yesterday. Woo! We whooped up on that centaur. Felt good. I saw your review of Shot and Totten. Can you use the deck to play Shot and Totten 1? I don't think so. Shot and Totten has 6 suits with 1 through 10. This has 5 suits with 1 through 11. Oh, thank you, Mom Gamer. A token of appreciation for all you do. That's very, very nice of you. Thank you. After the Empire's textured blocks look really great. I know. I love them. What games do you think they would be great in? I meant to make a list of that actually. because I'm curious. I'd like to do more with those blocks. I talked to Gray Fox about them already. I told him how much I loved them. I mean, K-less is an automatic answer. They'd be great in K-less. But I'm trying to think of what other games use wooden cube resources of stone and wood. And yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm going to have to go through a list of games and see, but I love those. They're fantastic. How do you determine how many expansions is enough for a game? Scythe has 3 main expansions, and I think that's enough. I agree on Scythe. I don't know. I guess when I stop getting excited for a new expansion, I feel like a game has enough expansions. Did you guys ever agree on a new name for the roll and blank games? No, you have it wrong. It's blank and right games. The blank is the first word. So scribblers. That's not a bad thing. Huh. Maybe I'll use that. It's not bad. Who decides what games to display in the background? I do. Sometimes, well, like Panasar sponsors a lot of our videos, so I stick one of their games in the back there. And then the rest are just random things. Like this is Kingdom 3D Towers expansion. I don't know. I just put that up there because I had the box laying around. And this Mondrian Blocks, me and my daughter played that the other day. And so I put it up here. And then there's a few more boxes up there. Athenaeum, well, I'm reviewing that next week. Excavation Earth, it just looked cool, so I put the box there. Smartphone Inc., I like that expansion, so I put that one up there. Praga, I'm going to review that soon. And Carcassonne Wheel of Fortune, I put there just to be silly. But I just decide what goes up there. Would you rather rank on Board Game Geek most games that you play as you do now, or would you be glad to get rid of the whole 1 through 10 rating as a whole? To me, most of the time ratings are a bit redundant now. No, I like rating games. Why would I want to get rid of that as a whole? I don't know. Do you have a preferred role when choosing a fantasy RPG class? Ranged. That I always like playing the ranged. The archer or ranger. I don't mind playing almost anything. The one character I don't normally play is the thief or the rogue. I don't know why I did. That's just the one I'm least interested in. I think I like to play ranged, and after that I want to play the magic wielder. And then after that the warrior, then the cleric, and then the thief of the main classes. If there's some weird class, I might be interested in that. Do you still have that top 10 book? I do. I think it's right over here. Where is it? It's a top 10 book. I thought I had one sitting around here. Aha! I do. My top 10. All right, all right. Oh, create my own. Oh, there's a lot of create my owns in here. All right, let's. My top 10 proudest accomplishments? That's too egocentric. Let's try something else. My top 5, 10 ways to pamper myself. Okay. Ice cream sundaes. And bath bombs. Video games, and I don't care. What I mean is I'm just going to sit and play video games and whatever. Just going to play and play and play and play. What else do I like? Pamper myself. Mostly it's food. Snacks. Okay, I'm out of ways. I only have 4. How else would I pamper myself? I don't really care. Those are the 4 things I do. I don't take naps. That's not top 10. Gotta find a different one. Not the grossest things ever. Top 10 best things to cover in chocolate. Well, there we go. That's actually a good one. Strawberries, for sure. marshmallows, caramel, raspberries. Raspberries would be higher. I love raspberries. Dried fruit, I think, is delicious. Not dried fruit, freeze-dried fruit. If you ever had that, that's so good. Covered in chocolate. That's my number one, actually. So that's 5. Ice cream covered in chocolate, like an ice cream candy bar. That's 6. 7 would be pretzels. Oh, chocolate-covered pretzels are great. 8. Chocolate. Oh, cherries. I can't believe I said chocolate-covered cherries, of course. 8. 9. I need a 9th one. Probably cake. Chocolate-covered cake, like the little truffles. And then 10, peanut butter. Not peanut butter is actually number 1, folks. More than freeze-dried fruit, yeah. I know that's a very American thing. Like, I found that like, overseas, there's not a lot of chocolate-covered peanut butter, but it's so good. I'm sorry. There you go. That's my random top 10 of the day from this My Top 10 books that someone gave me. Published in 2016 from Piccadilly. There's a lot in here. All right. Alrighty. What's my favorite Bible verse? Psalm 51. We'll go with the whole chapter. Bagels versus English muffins? Bagels for sure. I know that they're probably not as healthy for you as an English muffin, but I just love bagels. How do you like your steak cooked? Medium, depending on what it is. Sometimes I'll get it even medium well, maybe. I know it's anathema to a lot of people, but I grew up having my steaks well done. I thought that was the only way they got made, so I'm coming out of that a little bit. Who's your favorite person to play games with? My family, probably. I love playing games with my family. Outside my family, there's lots of people I play games with. I play so many games with Z, Roy, Mike, Chris. I love playing games with them. Kenny. Yeah, I just like playing games with people. I don't care. Would you say Cloud Age is a deck building game? Not particularly. Dr. Sammy D donated 5. I'll have to get to that. Sorry, I'll get to that. Are you interested in electric cars? Sure, if I could afford one. Is there a Tesla board game? There probably is. Any news on the next Dice Tower cruise? The next scheduled Dice Tower cruise is next year, unfortunately. I know that the pandemic's made a lot of people weary. Good news round the corner. Good news is coming. You know, it seems like things are getting better. Looks like the numbers are down every day. We just got to stick with it. Hope is on the horizon, in my opinion. Is Spectre Ops a good intro to hidden movement games? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, Scotland Yard is like the ultimate intro, but Spectre Ops can be played. And is it good with 2? I think so. I like it with 2. Hi, Tom. I'm trying to design a game and struggling with the upgrades portion of it. I don't know what that means. Simplicity versus diversity. Simplicity is always better. Any advice? What do you like for upgrades? I don't know. Are you talking about component upgrades? Because that has nothing to do with designing a game. That's the publishing part. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, electric cars, Kanban EV. You're right. When will you be doing the After the Empire Quest playthrough? We already did it. It must have been part of the Spring Spectacular. I mean, the Winter Spectacular, I guess. You mentioned a white day a while ago. Do you do something like that? Yes. I talked about that last week. You can watch last week's Q&A. Do you celebrate Chinese New Year? No, not really. I know it's a big deal. The Lunar New Year, it's called in Korea. No, there's no one to really celebrate it with here. In Korea, it was a big deal, but here it's not a big deal at all. So not particularly. What game do you think will be the next #1 on Board Game Geek after Gloomhaven? I don't know. Frosthaven? I don't know. That I've never been really good at predicting. Let's see. If you could only ever play games from 2021 and after, or 2020 and before, which would you choose? I don't know. 2021 and after. Who knows? It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, yes, it's at this point in my life where I'm probably more than halfway through my life. So there's probably more games behind me than there is in front of me. So you can make that argument. But I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for that. Asmodee should be trying to buy the Dice Tower starting any moment now. That joke's been made now for like 6 years straight. I've not even got a phone call from Asmodee. But if you're watching Asmodee, talk to me. If you're moving overseas, do you have any suggestions packing up and moving your board games with you? Pack them dearly. Make sure they're nice and make sure you fill the space in the board games. Put clothes in your board games. Make sure you open your board games when you get there. Keeps the stuff from rattling around. Purchasing board games overseas depends where you are. Every country is going to be different. Let's see here. Has Dice Tower done reviews or top 10 lists for card games? Well, card games are always included in everything, right? Every game, I mean, when we talk about board games, we talk about card games. So a card game can make any top 10 list, really. Well, it can't, because some categories, obviously, like worker placement is likely a board game. I suppose there's a worker placement card game, but highly unlikely. And then there would be arguments, as I mentioned in Board Game Breakfast today, about what exactly is a card game. So I think what you're trying to say is traditional card games, but that would just be a one top 10 list. We just did trick-taking games last year with Tim Metvier. That's one place you might look. From what I've been told, the Dice Tower does charge for you to review their games won't be influenced. I don't know what that sentence means. For you, from what I've been told, Dice Tower does charge for you to review their games won't be influenced. I don't understand that at all, actually, that question. Or that statement. We don't charge for games to be reviewed. Tom, do you think board game market is becoming oversaturated? They will soon be like video games, as after a year, the price of a video game goes from $60 down to $19.99. Yeah, but how's that bad for you, the consumer? I wouldn't worry about it, you know. Which would be more exciting for you, another Marvel set for Smash Up, Villainous, or Unmatched? Oh, Unmatched probably, because that's my favorite of those three game systems. But I haven't even seen the first one yet. Oh, here's the full sentence. The Dice Tower does charge for game reviews from what I've been told. They claim to not be influenced by the charge. But I'm telling you that we don't. So I feel like whatever you hear from someone else, we have never charged for a game review. Again, previews. Mark Street and Stella and Ella handle that. I don't actually do the previews. We do playthroughs. But when I review a game, there's no paid option for that. Even if I pay for a game that there was a paid playthrough for, which some of the games that we had paid playthroughs for a few weeks ago showed up on my 8 negative review list because I didn't like the games that much. It just happens. Let's see here. Do you have any favorite guests? Well, maybe. We have guests that some we just jive with more than others, but we have a lot of people. Yeah, I would even hesitate to say like who my favorite guests would be because then everyone else feels bad. Oh, it wasn't me. But no, we really were loving last year when we flew people into the studio to play games with us. That was so fun because they were here and we played games. It was a cool thing. But, we can't do that right now. But maybe in the future. A lot of people ask, and a lot of people are asking here, like, when will you have this guest again? We might have guests multiple times, and that's possible. But I've been trying to find different and interesting people for the top 10s, just because I like to have as many different voices and things on our channel that we can. We get criticized a lot. In fact, I just got an email that criticized our top 100 because it was just main staff people. And that's the way it's going to be for a lot of things. We're here. We're playing together. We're going to do some videos together. But when it comes to other videos, I want to bring in a diverse cast of voices, just different people talk about board games in different ways. Have you ever had a social media free holiday? Not particularly, but like this past weekend, I barely looked at social media at all. Have you ever cut your finger or hand during one of your unboxings? Maybe. But the answer to that question, okay, let's say yes, it happened once, but I don't remember. You could probably go find it if you want. But I keep meaning to do one where I have fake blood gushing all over the place onto the game, but I just forget to do that. Nick says, can I just pretend I can't find someone to teach me a game and then find and ask you to teach me a game? Sure. I won't know that you're lying. Have publishers ever twisted or misinterpreted a quote from a review and used it as a blurb on their box or website? No. But I did give a quote one time about a game in a negative review that the company used in a positive way. It was Catalyst Games. I forget the name of the game. It was not a very good game. And I said something like, this is like Risk for chess players. That's not what I'm looking for. And they put that quote in the back of the box. But hey, they quoted me properly. And that's what they wanted to use. I'm fine with that. I get along well with Catalyst Games, but I enjoyed that. What is your most memorable meal? What makes it stand out? The food, people you were with, or both? Usually it's a combination of both. I mean, I can have amazing meals with people and forget the food. We just had a good time together, for sure. But having a great meal there. Most of my memorable meals have been ones where people paid for them at, like, we used to do pledges on the Dice Tower for meals with us at cons. We didn't do any this year because A, we don't know if there's any cons, and B, we need to roll over all the ones from last year. Well, that was weird. Those were always fantastic. I've always enjoyed those when we've gone out to eat with people at cons. Just great times. I get to meet people. We talk to them. Usually we eat at really nice places. It's a lot of fun. Would you consider making a show giving us a personal look by interviewing board game YouTubers and designers so we can get to know them better? Nah. And I'll tell you why, Mom Gamer. Because Everybody does it. Everybody interviews everybody all the time. So we'll do some interviews on the Dice Tower. We've done interviews, but interviews just aren't as interesting as you might think. It's interesting when you get two people who are really good at talking, but a designer, for example, may not be somebody who is really comfortable on camera. So then they don't make for a good interview. Also, most interviews end up turning into a, tell me about your new game that's coming out, or tell me how you got to where you are now, which is interesting, but again, has been done. And there's people out there doing fantastic interviews and stuff, and I find that I very rarely watch them. Now, you want to see good interviews? Tim Metvier on the Meepleville YouTube channel, he does really good interviews. If you want to listen to good interviews, then 5 Games for Doomsday podcast, really well done. And I don't think I can get to be as good as either of those two guys. So that's where I would go for that. I get nervous about conventions since even though I like to win, if I lose, I lose. I don't like playing with people who get mad when they lose. I very rarely run into that at a convention. My favorite bird in Wingspan? Oh, I don't know. There's so many birds. I'm afraid I don't even know the list of all the birds. So they're all cool. Did you get the Tainted Grail stretch goals? No, I have not gotten those. Maybe that will come in at some point. Would you rather have 100 games people have basically not heard of, or 10 games that are on everyone's list? I'd rather have the 100 games no one's heard of, because then I get to show people stuff they've never seen before. If you could own any animal that was scaled down to a cat, and the choice is socially acceptable, legal, without repercussions now, which would you want as a pet? Like a mini something? I mean, why would you not want a mini polar bear? I feel like polar bear would be the thing, as long as it was not fierce. A mini polar bear, that'd be funny. Or a panda, mini panda. Man, everyone would be at your house. You know, lines out the door to see that mini panda, I guess. A mini gorilla? I don't know. Anything you could reveal on upcoming top 10 guests? I cannot, actually. Just want to say Z's term for welcoming games is really good. Hope other reviewers' games start using that too. Well, we can't make people use terms, and I don't even necessarily try to push it on other people, but we'll try to use it. That's one I've decided we're going to start using, or I'm going to start using, welcoming games. Instead of using the word gateway games or family games, I'm going to call them welcoming games from now on. It just seems like a good term, and Z gets the credit for that. I'm getting mixed up because last time I gave Z credit for something that Mike said, and I don't want to get in trouble for that again. Do you like macaroni and cheese? Ish. Do you put ketchup on it or not? No. No, I don't put ketchup on almost anything because I looked it up and there's about 300 million better sauces than ketchup. But no, mac and cheese is something I very rarely want. I've made it myself and I did not do an awful job of it. But I want my mac and cheese to be loaded with other things. So in town here, and I haven't gone there for a while because of the COVID and everything, but we have a board game cafe up in Miami called Mac and Chess. And they make the best macaroni and cheese I've ever had. They mix it with pulled pork and they have truffles, sauce in it. Oh, it's so good. Alrighty, let's see here. If Essen happens this year, what are the chances that the Dice Tower will be in attendance? I don't know. I can tell you that it would be a smaller presence than normally we have at cons. So if the Dice Tower is at Essen, and we would like to be there, it would be a reduced presence just for financial reasons. I can't fly everybody over, but I don't know what's going to happen with us, and that's still far enough in the unknown future. May I ask what you've enjoyed reading lately? Yeah, Red Rising. What have you enjoyed watching lately? WandaVision. These are easy. Tom loves beef jerky. That's true. I really do like beef jerky. Where did I get this top 10 book? I got it from Z for one of my birthdays. Yeah, it was a nice thing. I was like, ooh. It's like that was a cool thing to get. Congratulations on another successful Kickstarter. A lot of people give you a hard time with the promos and logistics. Would you get rid of promos, or does your Kickstarter success rely on them too much? I don't know if our Kickstarter success relies on them. I mean, I try to, I hope people back us for who we are, but the promos certainly help for sure. We're trying to improve logistics for sure. All right, now people are talking about things covered in chocolate. Chocolate-covered chocolate. I thought about that. A super chat from Dr. Sammy D. Do you know any board games that combine dudes in a map with Magic the Gathering like spells and creature battles? Maybe Conquest and Narath is that way. Battle Lore 2nd edition is very similar to that. I think both of those would fit. No, I don't like my steaks burnt. Not at all. I mean, I did, but I've definitely shied from that. I still don't think I would want a rare steak, but I could eat a medium easily. It doesn't bother me at all. Medium rare, I start going, I don't know if I want that. Are you happy that Ruby and Violet are getting comfortable reviewing games? Sure, but they don't have to be. They don't. I never want them to feel like they have to review games. I mean, they're both here at the studio right now. We're going to be reviewing a game in just a bit. But there's a lot of games. They're actually talking about top 50 lists right now and what games will make it and not make it and how hard it is to put one of those together. So we'll see. Let's see. Why do you think modern games took so long to get where they are? Roll and Rights, for example, Yahtzee came out in the 50s, right? Why did it take decades for that genre to explode? I don't know. The internet has definitely helped board games explode. So there's a lot of reasons and things for why things happen. Why didn't you mention Le Havre in your top 10 worker placement video? I did mention Le Havre in my top 10 worker placement video, and since you didn't watch it, you didn't know that, right? Because I definitely specifically said Le Havre in the beginning of that video. I've been going to limited attendance hockey games. It's very big to be in that big building with such a small crowd. Have you had any strange experiences like that during the pandemic? Yes. Let's see. How far have you gotten into Red Rising books? I am like in the first 3 chapters. Well, actually, I can tell you. I don't know why I'm saying that. I am currently reading Morning Star, and I'm on page 15. That's not very far. So 3% of the book, apparently, the 3rd book. But I really want to read some more on this, so I'll get to that. But the thing is, after I finished the 2nd book, I went back and read the 1st book again. Now I'm going back and reading the 3rd book, and maybe I'll come back and read the 1st book again. I don't know. I just like to read. How does one join the inner circle at the Dice Tower? Well, first you sacrifice a game. I don't know what you mean by join the inner circle. People who want to be involved with the Dice Tower, they just get involved. And I get to know people. So obviously we have people here that I've hired. That's my inner circle of sorts. They're here at the office. I see them all the time. I'm constantly, going over things with them, talking about different things. So there's that information is there. We're constantly there. That's the inner circle. Then I got lots of people who are contributors to my show, and Eric Summer and stuff. People who are not necessarily here, but I talk to them enough and do enough things with them. But I also got people who there are several people, and you might know who you are, that you're just, I guess, quote unquote, an ordinary gamer, which I don't like using that terminology. I just like talking to them. We talk about games. Who cares? There is no inner circle other than my internal staff here. Would you consider doing a live playthrough of Eclipse Second Dawn from the Galaxy, even if it's 8 hours long? No. But Eclipse Second Dawn of the Galaxy will likely be one of the games that we said we were going to do some playthroughs of games with commentary in between turns. That's going to be one of them, probably. I'm about to buy Chimera Station. Why do you think the game was forgotten so quickly? Just because most games are. That's just how it works. It's a fun game, so it's worth it. Alrighty, let me just quick sort through here because we're pretty much supposed to be done. And then we'll get started here. When I say started, I got reviews to get cranking here. Alrighty, folks. Well, I think I got to most of, I didn't get to most of the questions. I got to a lot of the questions, but there's still a lot of cool things that are coming your way. I'll be doing some live stuff tomorrow. We're gonna be playing through Wildlands live, and then at 2 o'clock tomorrow, I'm continuing my 5 more great games with special guests, and then at 3 o'clock tomorrow, Shooting Marbles. If you've never watched it, you should come by. It's super fun. It's silliness, just straight up silliness, but it's fun. Come pick a marble, root for a marble. Will there be new marbles? Of course. So until then, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. It's good to see you all. Have a fantastic week. Remember, things are getting better. And if things aren't getting better, cut your social media accounts and they will automatically improve by 86% guaranteed. But keep watching the Dice Tower. Hopefully that increases you by 17.5%. Optimism. Anyhow, yeah, what else is coming? There's just reviews. Look at this. The new Mythic Adventures for Unlock coming, and Escape Tales, Children of Wormwoods. And that's the only one that's close enough for me to grab. But anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. Oh, wait, got a super chat. Mom Gamer says, I still had Essen to say hi to you. Someone cut me off and you noticed. You walked up and apologized for what that person did. It made my day. Oh, well, I don't want to take credit for someone else being a jerk. Well, people aren't necessarily jerks. Someone can cut you off and just not notice. So that happens sometimes. I just don't. Sometimes I don't notice stuff like that, and then people get frustrated. So, and there's for every good story like you just said, which is nice. I'm sure I accidentally cut someone else off or didn't talk to someone, and I don't mean to do that. So hopefully we'll all get a chance to meet up soon. I got it. I have hope. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Q&A on the Dice Tower.